Before you judge a man by his clothes, ask yourself what he's hiding behind his silence. And before you look down on a woman for her choice, ask yourself, what if it was you? In life, we often look, but we don't really see. We stop at what others show us. We judge a man by his car, his suit, or his bank account. But sometimes, behind a simple work uniform, is a silent king. And behind a woman who is judged for marrying too low, is a queen who chose love over looks. Today, I will tell you the story of Falonne, a brave woman who said yes to a man everyone looked down on, but who was hiding a secret no one could have guessed. And you? Would you have had Falonne's courage? Would you have faced the mockery, the judgment, the shame? Before you answer, listen to this story until the end. And remember this advice. True love is quiet. It builds in silence. But one day, it speaks louder than the world. This is the story of Falonne and Arnaud, a story of love, faith, and a hidden truth. Falonne lived in a poor neighborhood in Abidjan. Even with little money, she was always neat and elegant. Every morning on her way to work, she passed by an old yellow building. In front of it, a man swept the sidewalk. Wearing a blue uniform, with a low cap and quiet eyes. That was Arnaud, the guard. No one paid attention to him. But Falonne did. She always greeted him with a warm smile. Good morning, Mr. Arnaud. Good morning, Miss Falonne. This small moment became their daily habit. But in that good morning, something gentle began to grow. Arnaud was a quiet man. He didn't talk much, but he always said thank you. Thank you, when someone gave him an empty bottle. Thank you, even when no one spoke to him. A thank you, full of meaning. Falonne saw everything. She saw how some people spoke to him badly. How he still smiled even when they ignored him. To her, he was different. There was a strange peace in his eyes. One day, she gave him a small bag of cold water. He took it gently, looked at her, and said, "Thank you." Really. That day, his eyes stayed on her a little longer. It was raining. Falonne had forgotten her umbrella. She was running in the rain, soaked, hair stuck to her face. Arnaud saw her. He came out with his umbrella and walked toward her. "Take this. Go inside quickly." She hesitated, surprised. "And you? You'll stay in the rain. I'm used to it. Go on." She took the umbrella, and for the first time, gave him a real smile. Not a polite one. A true smile. A smile that made Arnaud's heart beat faster. And maybe Falonne's too. Though she didn't want to admit it yet. People in the neighborhood were not blind. They started noticing the glances, the small gestures between Falonne and the guard. Wow! She talks to the guard now. With all the young men around, she chooses him? Maybe she likes to suffer. Falonne heard everything. But she pretended not to. One evening, a neighbor told her directly, "Falonne, you're too pretty to end up with a guard. You deserve someone who can give you more than a broom." Falonne smiled. A man who respects others is already a lot. The rest, God will handle. It was very hot that day. Arnaud was sweating, sweeping the courtyard. Falonne came out with a plastic bag. Inside, a cold juice and 2 small bags of icy water. "Here, you look tired." Arnaud looked at her for a long time. "Why are you kind to me, Falonne?" She answered right away. "Because you're a human being. And you deserve respect." That day, something moved inside Arnaud. An old dream he had buried long ago. And for the first time, he wondered if maybe he had the right to love again. In the neighborhood, everyone thought they knew Arnaud. The quiet guard, always clean, always polite. But no one knew where he came from. Or where he went after work. He never spoke of his family. He had no close friends. In the evenings, he read a small black notebook and wrote things no one saw. One night, Falonne saw him late, as she came back from a night prayer. "You're still here at this hour? I sleep here at the front desk." "But you never go home?" He smiled. "This is my home." She stood there, watching him, curious. Something wasn't clear. He looked poor. But his words, his way of speaking, his eyes, everything about him said he was hiding something bigger. But what? Falonne didn't know yet. And Arnaud wasn't ready to say. That day, it rained non-stop. The sky in Abidjan was dark, the air heavy. Falonne got stuck at work longer than expected. When she finally reached her building, soaked, she saw Arnaud standing there, holding an umbrella. He was waiting for her. "I saw you from far away. I thought maybe you didn't have yours." She smiled shyly, touched. He walked her to her door, without saying too much. But just before she went in, he said, "You know, sometimes, what we see isn't what it really is." She stopped, surprised. "What do you mean?" "The job we do. The clothes we wear. The place people give us." Falonne looked at him, confused. He continued, "You can be a guard, and still be great. You can wear work clothes, and still have more than someone in a suit." Then he turned around, leaving behind a mystery that stayed in Falonne's mind for a long time. That day, in the rain, she understood that this guard was not like the others. A few days later, Falonne found a small note under her door. The handwriting was simple, almost shy. "If you're free tomorrow evening, I'd like to invite you for a juice." "Ah, no." She stared at the paper for a long time. Then she smiled. The next evening, after work, she walked downstairs. Arnaud was waiting, wearing clean jeans and a neatly ironed shirt. No flowers. No car. Just a sincere smile. They walked on foot to a small street kiosk. No fancy restaurant. No candles. Just the shade of trees, some peace, and a gentle conversation. "I know I'm not the kind of man people notice," Arnaud said. "And yet," Falonne replied, "you're the only one I'm looking at right now." Arnaud looked at her, touched. He wasn't used to being seen. Really seen. They drank their orange juice in silence. A silence full of promises. It wasn't like a movie date. But for Falonne, it might have been the realest one ever. After that little date, something had changed. Falonne spent more time talking with Arnaud. And Arnaud started smiling a bit more. He didn't call her darling. He didn't send poems. But he fixed her door locks without being asked. He swept more carefully in front of her door than anywhere else. And Falonne noticed. There were no jewels. No flowers. No car rides. But there was respect. There was presence. There was peace. One day, Falonne asked, "Aren't you afraid of what people say?" "People talk. I live," he replied simply. She looked at him for a long time. And in that look he understood. It wasn't just friendship anymore. It was something more. A gentle fire, growing in silence. A few months later, Arnaud did something no one expected. He gathered his courage and went to meet Falonne's family. He arrived in a simple outfit, with respectful eyes. "I'm here to ask for your daughter's hand in marriage." The silence was cold. Falonne's big brother burst out laughing. "You, a guard. You want to marry our sister?" "She deserves better than a broom holder," said an aunt with a twisted mouth. Falonne tried to speak, to defend Arnaud. But her mother stood up, angry. "Falonne, you want to shame our name? You want to become Mrs. Guard? Never." Arnaud's heart was beating fast. But he didn't shout. He didn't fight back. He just said calmly, "I understand. But please know this. I love your daughter. And I will respect her all my life." Then he turned and walked away. Falonne followed him in tears. And that day, she made a decision. She would choose love, even if her family turned their backs on her. The wedding of Falonne and Arnaud was like no other. No big hall. No fancy cars. No grand buffet. Just a yard, 2 chairs, a pastor, and a few true friends. Falonne wore a simple dress, sewn by a neighbor who was a seamstress. No gold jewelry. Just a pearl necklace given by Arnaud. Her family didn't come. No parents. No cousins. No blessings. But Falonne smiled. Arnaud, in a clean shirt and ironed pants, gently held her hand. His eyes were shining. No shame, no fear. Only love. "Are you sure about this?" he whispered before saying, "I do." "I'm more sure about you than anything else," she replied. And at that moment, even without anything fancy, it became the most sincere wedding the neighborhood had ever seen. After the wedding, Falonne moved into a small room at the back of the building. The guard's room. No tiles. No fan. No privacy. She did the laundry in the yard, while some neighbors whispered, "Look, the new Mrs. Guard. With her looks, she thought she'd marry a doctor." Others laughed when they saw her hanging clothes. Even at the market, one seller told her, "You had potential. But you aimed too low." Falonne kept her head high. But at night, when she took off her wrapper, she also took off her smile, and cried silently into the tired pillow. Arnaud saw her, helpless. He wanted to tell her everything would change. But he wasn't ready. He was waiting for the right time. Falonne lived heavy days. She endured the judging eyes, the mean words, the mocking looks. But at home, in their little room, Arnaud was there. He didn't talk much. But he acted. He heated water for her baths. He fixed her shoes without her asking. He looked at her like she was a queen. One night, Falonne broke down in tears. She had too much on her heart. "I gave up everything for you. My family, my comfort, my dignity. And now I'm the laughingstock of the neighborhood." Arnaud said nothing. He knelt before her, took her hands and whispered, "I can't give you much, not yet. But I promise you this. I will never betray you. And one day, you'll understand why I've stayed silent." Falonne looked at him. She didn't understand everything. But that look, she had seen it before. The look of a man carrying a burden, a secret, and a truth ready to come out. Falonne's heart was heavy, but she refused to give up. She had chosen Arnaud, and she would keep her promise. Every day, she woke up at 5 a.m., washed their clothes, made breakfast, then went to work with a neat scarf and a face full of courage. In the evenings, Falonne even helped Arnaud sweep the courtyard. The neighbors watched, shocked. "She's sweeping with her husband now? That's not a wife, that's a maid." But Falonne ignored them. She told herself, "Love doesn't need applause. It just needs to be real." One day, while she was sweeping the stairs, a woman living there bumped into her on purpose. "You might as well clean here too while you're at it." Falonne looked straight into her eyes. And instead of getting angry, she smiled. "I will. Because this building is also my home." Arnaud, watching from the back of the courtyard, felt a tear roll down his cheek. He knew this woman was more precious than all the houses he owned. That morning, Falonne was tired. Physically. Emotionally. The mockery, the shame, the sacrifices. It was all too heavy. At work, a colleague said without care, "Falonne, you've lost weight." Is your guard husband not feeding you right? That evening, she came home in tears. She found Arnaud fixing a light bulb in the courtyard. I can't take it anymore, Arnaud, she whispered, laying her head on her suitcase. You want to leave? He asked, his throat tight. She nodded, eyes red. I love you, but I feel like I've lost myself. A long silence followed. Arnaud looked at her, heart trembling. Then, calmly, he said, Give me a little more time, Falonne. Just a little. I can't tell you everything yet, but believe me, this pain won't be for nothing. He placed his hand on the suitcase. Don't leave yet. Please. And for the first time, Falonne saw something rare in his eyes. Pain and fire. A fire of truth ready to rise. The next morning, Arnaud got a strange phone call. His old phone buzzed quietly in his pocket. He stepped away to a quiet corner, looked around, and answered. Hello. Yes, it's me. The voice on the line was serious. Mr. Diabote is waiting for you tonight. You need to sign the transfer papers. The board won't wait any longer. Arnaud sighed, speaking softly. I understand, but I don't want to reveal who I am yet. Not now. But you own that building, Arnaud. It's time people knew. Arnaud hung up slowly, thinking. From a distance, Falonne had seen it all. She didn't know what he had heard, but she saw something different in his eyes. No more doubt. No more fear. Something serious. Something big. She walked over to him. Is everything okay? He looked at her. For a long time. Then smiled gently. Tonight, I want to take you somewhere. Put on your nicest dress. And trust me. That evening, Falonne wore her best dress. A simple but elegant one she had kept for years. Arnaud wore a clean white shirt and ironed pants. No work uniform. No sandals. But like a man who had something important to show. Where are we going? She asked, curious. It's a surprise, he replied with a mysterious smile. A taxi was waiting in front of the building. Not an old taxi. A clean car with air conditioning and a driver in a suit. Good evening, Mr. Arnaud, the driver said with respect. Falonne slowly turned her head toward her husband, confused. He called you, mister? Arnaud didn't answer. He simply held out his hand to help her in. They drove in silence to a large villa with soft lights. A table was set in the garden, under a blooming mango tree. Soft music. Quiet waiters. A dreamlike evening. Who is this for? Falonne whispered. Arnaud answered calmly. For you. For us. And for the truth I need to tell you. The next morning, while the neighborhood was still waking up, a big black SUV parked in front of the building. A driver in a suit stepped out, wearing dark glasses and walking confidently. He walked toward the guardroom. Good morning. I'm looking for Mr. Arnaud. The neighbors, curious, peeked out of their windows. Which Arnaud? The guard. One asked. Yes. The owner sent me to get him for an important meeting at Mr. Diabote's office. The news hit like a bomb. What owner? He's just the guard here. The driver smiled. You didn't know? Mr. Arnaud is the real owner of this building. Total silence. Everyone turned toward the little guardroom, mouths open. Falonne came out at that moment, wearing her home dress. She saw the car, the looks, the silence. Arnaud stepped out calmly from his room. He greeted everyone like usual, then got into the car without a word. Falonne watched him, heart pounding. Everyone had just found out what even she didn't truly know. The man she had married owned much more than a broom and some keys. And that's where part one of this story ends. Falonne chose love. But she still doesn't know the whole truth. And the neighborhood is just starting to open its eyes. What will happen next? How will the people who judged her react? And most of all, who really is Arnaud, the mysterious god? See you very soon for part 2. Thank you for watching until the end. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. And you? Do you think love is enough to face the world's judgment? Tell me in the comments. See you soon for the rest. And may your heart stay open to what the eyes cannot see.